Alright, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another Tackle Tuesday, as always sponsored by Fish Gum, the channel. First link down in the description. Make sure you go check out his channel. A lot of really cool stuff over there. But today, as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, we're going to talk about the all-new, brand new Bonafide p127 pedal drive kayak. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Alright guys, so first we're going to start up here at the front of the kayak. Now one things I really like about this kayak versus some of the other ones is the handle on the front. Now this handle is a solid handle and you got plenty of access to get your hand down in there versus some of the other kayaks just have a little string with like a T-handle, and so you don't really have a lot of grip on it. But this one's super sturdy, very easy to grab onto, nothing gets in the way, and so the front handle on this is really nice. And then moving not very far forward, this is already set up if you want to put a power pole or even a trolling motor or something like that on the front of it. It's already got the holes pre-drilled, and so all you got to do is take these 4 bolts off, take this plate off, and then mount on whatever accessory you want to mount on the front of the kayak, which is really cool. Very easy to kind of trick this out, do whatever you want to do to it. Very accessible, and so that's a nice touch that they added on this kayak. Then as we step on forward a little bit further, on either side of the kayak they do have a spot for a rod holder, and so you can run the rod up through here and protect the tip there, and then it's going to mount on the back side of your seat right here. And so you can run 2 rods, one on either side of the kayak. It's got a spot on both sides there, and so being able to slide those in, I don't really use it a lot while I'm actually using the kayak, but for transportation it's really nice to be able to slide those rods in, latch them down, no, nothing's gonna happen. Or if you are going through maybe like a tight area and you got a bunch of overhanging trees, you don't want rods sticking up in the air, you can slide your rods down in here. You don't have to be worried about getting tangled up in a tree or something like that. It's a really cool feature they put on this kayak. All right, and now for the front hatch. The front hatch is actually pretty cool. You can access it from the front here, and you can get to the bin there, or you can also access it from the back side here. And so this side is nice whenever you're actually in the kayak and you're on the water, you can access it from there. But if you're running wires or something, you want to have more access and not have the lid in your way, you can access it back from here. And so it does come with this bin here. And so this bin is really nice for keeping some of your gear. If you're running any accessories, you can keep batteries and stuff like that in here as well. It is not 100% watertight, so you do run a risk of possibly getting some water in here. They did run a flange around here, so it's definitely going to be limited, but especially if you're offshore or something, you got some waves crashing from time to time, it is not going to be 100% watertight. But once you take this out, you got complete access to under the hull, so if you do have to run any wiring to get to anything that you may be adding to this kayak, you have complete access through this hole right here. And then one other thing, if you are using this spot to run batteries, they do have a slot right here in the kayak where you can run the cables through, and then there's a hole in it right in here where you can drop down and run your transducer. And so if you are running a fish finder or something like that, very, very easy to add that. And then on top of the pedal drive system, it already has a slot for it where you can attach that fish finder right on top of your pedal drive. Alright, so now on to the drive. This is the pedal drive system for the new Bonafide pedal drive. This is the same one that they use on the native kayaks, so if you're familiar with that. It is a propelled drive, which until I got this kayak, all I'd ever really used is Hobie's, which has the fins, and I actually prefer this one better. It seems like less resistance, and then the reverse is super easy. You literally just pedal backwards. So it's really nice having this pedal system. I feel like there's a lot less resistance, so you're not getting worn out while you're out there on the water. So with this pedal drive system, when you put it in, it's got these tabs that you lock in place, and one thing I'm not a huge fan of is when you go to remove that, if you pull too tight, that tab's just going to come off, and it is going to be very easy to potentially lose this in the water. So it would have been nice if there was a way to put like some kind of stop where you could only pull so far. Not a huge deal. I pretty much leave my drive in all the time, so I'm never actually pulling it to take the drive all the way out. But if you are, that could definitely be an issue. I'm sure you can buy replacement parts or a replacement tab if you need to, but probably could have been a better way to go about that. And then down here with the drive, they do have this cover here which is the same that they had in the SS 127. And so you can pull that and then drop your drive right on down, and then the same cover goes right back in. It's got a nice cup holder, as well as it's got a little slot where you can keep, basically if I'm changing lures, I'll just throw a little tackle and stuff in there. Really cool to have some extra access there. And what I really like about this kayak is I'm fairly tall. I think I'm like 6'2", 6'3". With this seat, I slide the seat almost all the way back, not completely. And then the leg room that I have here is like way more than I remember having in some of the other kayaks. And so I got plenty of storage for all my tackle that can slide up under my seat. And I don't feel like I have any trouble pedaling, or if I'm taking my feet off the pedals and I'm landing a fish, I feel like I have plenty of room right here in front of me to do everything I need to do if I'm changing lures or whatever that is. So it seems like there's plenty of room right here in the front of the kayak, and it hasn't really seemed to be an issue for me as of yet. And about the seat, so it does have these lock-in systems here, and so you can screw that down, and then it is adjustable, so you can slide it all the way forwards if you're a little shorter, slide it all the way backwards if you are taller, and then you just tighten these down, locks that right into place. The seat does sit up pretty tall, so the tackle bag that I use slides right up under there, or if you got a bunch of little tackle boxes, they'll slide under there as well. And with the tackle boxes, they do have a spot back in here specifically made to hold two different ones. I can't remember off the top of my head what the size is, but those, I don't know, medium-sized tackle boxes, they fit right in here up under that seat. I haven't really used it for that yet, because with me having my seat further back, in order to get access to that, I would have to like reach all the way behind me, and it's not the most accessible. It's easier for me to just slide everything up under the seat right here in the front, and it hasn't really been an issue for me with tackle storage. Now, one thing that hasn't been an issue for me, but it may be an issue for some people, especially if you're left-handed, is the rudder steer is only on the left side of the kayak. And so I'm mainly fishing right-handed. I got my rod in my right hand, and so I'm steering left-handed. In some of the other kayaks, they do have the steering on both sides. This one only has it on the left side. Again, not an issue for me. Could potentially be an issue for you if you are typically holding the rod in your left hand and you prefer to steer right-handed. You do not have that ability to do so in this kayak. I did forget to mention the rail system on the front of this kayak. You got, I don't know exactly, maybe 18 to 20 inches of rail system on both sides, so plenty of room to mount rod holders, or if you are going to mount a fish finder or something on the side, there's plenty of room for all your accessories there, as well as you got a rail system on both sides here and back in here. So there is a ton of room to mount pretty much any accessory you could ever imagine on this kayak. They've definitely set it up to trick it out and do whatever you may want to do with it. And one feature I do kind of like about this kayak that not all kayaks come with is it does have the rubber floor mat in the front here. And so this is a very stable kayak, and I do stand up in it a lot while I'm fishing, especially for sight fishing or something like that. And so having this rubber matting is going to give you a lot more traction and stability. You don't have to worry about slipping on anything. So the fact that it already comes with that down in the bottom of the kayak is really cool. I really like that feature. Gives it a nice little clean touch on the Bonafide 127. All right, so now towards the back side of the kayak, they did give you plenty of room back here for cooler storage or tackle storage. They actually designed this to fit perfectly with the Yak Pack Black Pack, which is kind of hard to say. But if you are going to use a milk crate, which I know a lot of guys do, they did already rig up the bungee cords that have these attachments here, so it'll lock right on top of the milk crate on both sides. That way you can lock that right down, and everything's going to fit right there perfect in the storage for you. And it also does come with some Yak Pack paddle holders. Now, I'm not a huge fan of these. I haven't used them yet. I prefer to put my paddle on the side here. You know, pretty much most kayaks you can slap your paddle on the side and lock it into place. And so that's easier for me, because even though this is a pedal kayak, anytime you're launching or you get into some shallow water, you know, you got to pull that drive up and you may have to paddle a little bit. So if I had to keep my paddle back here and then put it back together and all that, not really ideal for me. But if you're typically fishing in deep water and you don't need to have access to your paddle as often, maybe having it back here is more convenient. Again, it comes with the kayak, so no extra expense to you. Not something that I necessarily am going to need. I'm probably actually going to take it off but if that's something you like, it comes on here. And with this kayak, it is going to come with 2 built-in rod holders. So you got one on either side, just on the back side of the seat. Obviously you got plenty of room to add extras on the front, which I'm definitely going to do. I'll have a video of that coming out soon. And then moving a little further on back, this is going to be your access to the back side of the hole and for all your steering and all that stuff. And so you got 4 screws that's going to hold that on if you need to run any cabling, or if you ever need to have access to the steering. That's all going to be done through there. The back side is also ready to go if you want to add a power pole or a trolling motor, anything like that on the back side. Same as the front. Take these 4 screws off, already ready to go. Just mount your bracket on. You're good to go with adding whatever accessory you may want. And then same thing with the handle here. The handle on the back side does flip down, and it is a solid handle, so super easy to pick up, move around, don't have to worry about any string or anything like that. And then down to the rudder. Now I know some other kayaks, when you pull that rudder up, the rudder actually flips on the top side of the kayak, which is pretty nice. You don't ever actually have to worry about like damaging the rudder. But with this rudder, the bottom side is actually a little bit higher than these bumpers they got on the bottom side of the kayak. So in those times that you do have to pick up the front and drag the kayak, you don't have to worry about dragging the bottom side of that rudder. Just make sure every time you get out of the kayak, you pull that rudder up. Because if you do leave this down and then you go to grab the front of the kayak, you are going to snap that rudder. And so that is a downside to it not flipping up, but at the end of the day, if you forget it, you're going to damage it. So always make sure you're pulling up that rudder when you're getting out of the water or getting into shallow water. And then over here on this side, you do have the drain plug. So I like to do this every time I get out of the kayak. Again, you don't really get a whole lot of water inside, but the times that I do go offshore, like when we went and did that tuna video, I had some tuna in the front of the kayak. I had a few waves breaking over the bow, and so I definitely had to drain it. So all you gotta do is pull that screw there and lift the front up. You can drain any water that has gotten inside the kayak. I think that is pretty much everything for the overview of this kayak. I will do a more in-depth review as I use this kayak more in the future. If you have any questions about it, make sure you comment down below. Let me know. I will try to answer those the best that I can. If you're interested in purchasing one of these kayaks, I'll have their website linked down below as well. It is the Bonafide p127. So that's going to wrap it up for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a big thumbs up. If you have not already subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so now. I appreciate it, guys, and until next time, y'all take care.